Right, so it's February and I'm in the fair city of York in the north of England, probably the north of England's most historic city, certainly pre-industrial revolution. There's so much jam-packed into the city's history, and this week the city's celebrating one particular chapter of that wonderful history, the Viking chapter. This week is Jorvik Viking Festival. So this is York, a city founded all the way back during the Roman occupation and historically the most significant city in the north of England until industrialisation. It was here that Emperor Constantius I died in the year 306 and his son, later to be known as Constantine the Great, was proclaimed emperor on these very streets. York today is famous for its many historical sites, including its museums, castle, huge minster, and of course its Instagrammable back streets. But for a short yet significant period in its long history, it became the domain of Norse and Danish invaders, who settled much of the north and east of England and made this city their home, Jorvik. So unlike last month in the English Civil War, I actually love this part of British history, the Viking history, the Anglo-Saxon history, that turn of the millennium, a millennium ago, that kind of history. I love it. I've never been to this festival before though, so I'm really looking forward to it. Seems right up my street. Let's go see what they've got. The festival here is the biggest Viking themed festival in Europe, lasting a whole week every February and sees thousands of visitors come to the city to take part. Some of them here as spectators, others here in full costume.
So yeah, it attracts somewhere in the region of about 40,000 people, but they come from all over the country and from Europe. We occasionally get people from America. We obviously get a lot of people from sort of Scandinavia and countries that also have links to kind of, you know, Viking history as well. A lot of them make their own things. They make their own jewellery and their own weapons and stuff like that. So there's like an amazing amount of talent that goes into it as well. And then yeah, we have some volunteers. It's just a real mix. And then other people who just come for the festival come in, you know, things that they've made in their own Viking dress as well. So yeah, it's just like an absolute mix of different people. And then there's people like me who look scruffy, who are working.
A wander away from the Jorvik Viking Centre to the centre of the city revealed a host of stalls, a miniature Norse market if you will. One in particular caught my eye.
So I'm a mead maker and salesman for Nidhogger Mead Co. So we are sponsoring the Jorvik Festival this year, setting up lots of Viking stuff, and particularly my role is selling mead. Mead is the oldest alcohol in the world, so it dates back to around 7000 BC. The first place we actually found it was in ancient China, Egypt and Sumeria. Wow. But obviously it was popularised by the Vikings when they were doing all their raids, because they would obviously steal it from Christians or oftentimes just buy it because they did have money from stealing so much money.
So how long has it been in Britain then?
So mead has been in Britain for about probably since we ever got alcohol, because since it is the oldest alcohol in the world, if anybody had bees and they had honey, if you just leave it out in the rain, it turns into mead. This obviously is very important to us. Our boss and many of the founding members of Nidhogger are Viking reenactors, which is where I get this very nice shiny sword from.
Yeah. It's good, that. Feels good.
Yeah, so this, as you can tell by lots of the dents in the actual sword itself, has been used in reenactments quite heavily. So it's taken a lot of hits and it's hit a lot of people.
I had a fair few fights with that. I like it. I've always wanted a sword.
Oh well, you can buy one in York.
I might do. So before getting completely drunk and trying to find somewhere to purchase a weapon, I wanted to get stuck into the reason why Vikings are such an interesting part of history to us here in Britain, and to what degree do we still misunderstand them. So it's John and
John. Trigvi.
Olaf the Scold.
Olaf the Scold, nice to meet you. I'm Ollie the, I don't know, videographer. It's not very
That's how you would have got your name. That's how you would have got your name.
Yeah, I don't think I would have lasted very long back then, to be honest.
Well,
that was my name. So,
no, they like people that recorded stuff.
Yeah, storytellers.
I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of stories about Christian monks and how fearful they were of Viking peoples. If it hadn't been for them, we wouldn't know half of what the Vikings did.
Yeah.
The Vikings didn't write anything down.
That's absolutely true.
These are all Christian folks that wrote it down, especially the monks.
Yeah.
But the stories, they're writing it down in like the 11th, 12th, 13th centuries of events that happened like hundreds of years earlier.
Yeah.
You know? and they write them down in the sagas. The Norse word saga comes from the word saga comes from the Norse word segir, meaning to say. So our stories are originally told around the campfires.
Yes.
Nobody wrote anything down.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
it's
yeah.
like very
Verbal.
like traditional people around the world, really.
Absolutely.
Very simple.
Oral history.
Oral history, exactly. We have a very cartoonish image of Vikings, don't we? From like raiding and being very violent. Of course, they were more than that. They were very cultural. They were settlers, they were farmers, etc.
Which is exactly what the whole point of what we're trying to achieve is. We call it. I don't like the term reenactment because I'm not reenacting something because I don't know how a woods turner did that exactly. What I'm doing is call it living history. So we call it living history so people can come, they can be around us, see us cooking by a fire, see me making a bowl, how I would have done it, but it gives the opportunity, it's an immersive experience for people. And living history to me gives it much better description because that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
This is how it would be. We know how it would be, we just don't know the small details.
Yeah.
Because the Vikings never really get a very good reputation. Everyone hears about the raiding, the raping, pillaging, all of that. They don't hear about the farmers and the traders and what else they did for actually discovering new lands, like discovering America. It was, it's just trying to get people aware of the good stuff the Vikings done as well as the not so nice stuff.
Most people do have that view of Vikings as warriors, and as we know, the term Viking was like a job. To go Viking. So
raiding,
the Norse people, we call them Vikings, but that was a name of a job. They're making up for it, and you're about to get some warriors fighting over there. So I'll stop talking.
Yeah, we'll leave all the cultural stuff and we'll go watch some violence.
Go look some violence.
Some violence on
Go with
camera.
some violence.
Like the city's filling up now, there's loads of people here. The energy is just amazing in the air. There's loads of people in costume, there's loads of visitors. Everybody's going to the stalls to try out the meat, to try out look at the weapons, look at the bowls and stuff. It's just wonderful, there's great energy about it, I love it. It's so weird though, because this is it's just an average Saturday as well in York. There's people just doing shopping, there's people going to the bank, people going to the optician. There's your average Saturday crowd, but on top of that you've just got people in costume, Vikings roaming around the city, just mingling, getting Greggs, eating, as if they lived in York today. It's fantastic. The Norse and Danes, better known as the Anglo-Scandinavians I suppose, had been coming to Britain as traders for centuries before the first sword-carrying raiders launched attacks against the northeast coast. These war bands were led by warlords, eager to make a name for themselves and secure land away from the difficult homelands. Behind the armies came their wives, children and household slaves, ready to become settlers in this new green land. Because their history relied almost completely on oral tradition, the best historical accounts for their time in Britain were kept by Christian scholars, who for obvious reasons wrote mostly about the violence and conquest, not about the rich Norse culture of music, farming, storytelling and feasts. As a result, even today when we think of the Norse and Danish conquest of England, we think of swords and death, violence and pillaging. And not without good reason, but the Romans were violent, the Anglo-Saxons raped and pillaged, yet only the Vikings really get associated with it. And now thanks to popular fiction, we even strangely see this as all kind of cool. Maybe any period of history can lose its horror with a bit of distance, some metal haircuts and some fur shawls. Which of course brings me to the next big event of the day here in York, a battle reenactment. Unfortunately, I'd made the decision to experience the festival like most visitors would, which in this case meant not actually being able to get hold of a ticket and therefore seeing very little from outside of the fence.
that's why it's important, because we want young people to get involved. We want people to be able to appreciate what the Vikings did and how they did it. And it's a fantastic thing for all the family here. There's a little bit of everything from music. You've got blacksmiths. You've got people that are doing clothing. Cooking, we're cooking food. Please come and join us for dinner later on if you wish. We're cooking in the lava over there.
But what I'm hearing is that lots of people do the fighting, lots of people do trades, leatherwork, glasswork, jewellery. Not many people do the woodwork in the traditional way, but nobody does linguistics and nobody does song. Not many people at all.
Yeah.
And it's a thing which really hit me inside.
Yeah.
And I thought I need to learn some of this Old Norse.
Yeah.
Typical Old Norse line would be Ver erum Vikingar. We are the Vikings. That is a sound that would have sent people running to the hills 1,000 years ago. But now we welcome them into our camp.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friends. Thank you.
Right, so it's about 3 o'clock and I've just come from a battlefield. So everybody who was marching about 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock, went down to somewhere called the Eye of York, which is just outside the little castle there, the Museum of York Castle. And they just had a little battle, you know, some swords gently tapping against shields and people falling over. Yeah, it sounded exciting. There's dramatic music going on. Unfortunately, it was a ticketed event, so not available to everybody, sadly. However, there's a bit of a lull now, that's all over with. There's a bit of a lull. I think everybody is going back into the city and they're going to get some food, maybe some mead. And I think I might do the same. And there we go, the Jorvik Viking Festival. Fantastic day out. I've had such a great time today. To see it's such an appealing festival as well. There's kids having fun, there's older people having fun, a lot of costumes, a lot of face paint, a lot of makeup, a lot of shouting and sword fighting and battling. And to be a history fan and to see that great immersive experience come to life. I mean, this is one of my favourite periods of British history. To see it actually in real life in front of my eyes has been absolutely wonderful. So yeah, that's it from me. Thanks so much for watching and I'll catch you next month wherever I end up. Bye.